Hello, I'm Mark Goucher and welcome back to Simplicity Investment Watch. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, and today I have some stocks that I'm adding to our buy list that I want to share. First, before we do that, we'll take a look at the major markets and how they did today. In short, the markets took a break today. Let's see. So, SPY was down 31 bips. SPY being the ETF for the S&P 500. QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ, was down 18 bips. And then of the three majors, the biggest loss was for DIA, which is the ETF for the Dow Jones Industrial. That was down 82 bips. On SPY, as you can see, these are my lucky 13 technical indicators that I use. Still showing all sorts of strength, obviously. Today was the first red candle in a few days. And all of this is basically since the pop, which we can actually see better here, the pop since the election. This was last Tuesday's election, the pop, that was the effect of it. Since the election a week ago, the market gained about 4.5% on average, or pretty close to that on each of the majors. So the market was due for a break. Tomorrow, for major economic news that a lot of Wall Street will be watching for is core CPI is going to be reported at 8:30 in the morning. The forecast is for 30 bips or 0.30% increase month over month. If it does that, it's going to hold that steady, hold the number steady for what was reported in October and September. The CPI year over year is expected at 2.6%, and that would be a slight uptick from October. But there'll be a lot of eyes on those reports, so that could potentially be a market mover before the market opens. So just need to watch that. So when we look at the buy list that I'm about to talk about, or the stocks that I'm adding to our buy list, it doesn't mean we're actually going to buy all the stocks that I'm about to present. They're just on the list as candidates that have a green light. You can buy. Tomorrow we'll decide whether any of those buys or all of those buys are being done, and one of the factors could be what are the major markets doing, right? So with core CPI being reported, if it is a surprise number and the market does not like it, that may not be a good day to get into the market or get into any new positions. So I will get into a little bit more of that when I get into the individual picks. Before I do that, let's get into our disclosure. All right, our disclosure. We do not give financial advice, and this information is not for investment decisions. This is for educational purposes. The stock market is risky, and any trade or investment is expected to have some or total loss. The use of derivatives increases investment risk or potential loss. Do your own research before any trade. Please consult a financial advisor or professional to determine what is a suitable investment profile for you, given your investment goals and objectives. All right, let's get into the stocks on the list that I'm adding to the buy list. First up is Oracle. Technicals are very strong. Trend is strong. That's what this right here, if you recall from my introductory video, the blue line indicates the strength of the trend. Anything above 20 indicates a strong trend. It is clearly very much above that. The green line on this ADX indicator, the green being above the reds, definitely says that it's a uptrend. MACD is doing well. RSI strong. Money flow is doing great. And let's look at the anchored VWAP, or the anchors that I've talked about before in the first video. I have set anchors on the earnings from June, and then another anchor on the earnings from September. And this, with the exception of this right here in August, which was also a down period for the market. So this kind of moved in sympathy or sync with the market. In any case, there was a pop on these earnings, and pretty much the buyers have been in control since then. This pop, I believe, was the election. Yes, it was. So it moved in sync with the market. It went into TTM squeeze a couple days, actually about 5 days ago. Let me take a look here. November 4th. So that was a week ago, Monday. And now it has popped above its anchor VWAP that I've set from this high in October, early October, and has moved very nicely. These are very strong candles. So this is now definitely on the buy list. The only note of caution on this one is that there are earnings being reported December 9th. I don't like to get into a strategy. We trade short term, and I don't like to do that over the course of a reported earnings, because earnings can bring surprises, and it can throw my whole chart off with a surprise. This earnings right here was, I'm going to say, a surprise. It popped nicely. Actually, this earning was a surprise to the upside, but that surprise can happen to the downside. So I don't typically, it doesn't mean I will never, but I don't typically hold it through an earnings report. Any strategy, if this becomes a buy, and that'll be determined by tomorrow's early morning opening action on the market. If this becomes a buy, the strategy will probably be one that's going to be used in the next 2 or 3 weeks before this December 9th date. Just something I look for and something I report. So Oracle's on that list. The decision to buy, and I'll use Oracle as an example, and this will be the same for every single one of these that I show for you, but the decision to buy, this is a intraday chart. It is a 39-minute chart. There are 390 minutes to a trading day. If you want to break them down, if you want to break the candles down into equal increments, that's 6.5 hours. So you really can't do hourly candles because that's 6.5. 30 minutes, you still run into a problem where you don't have exactly a round number. 39 works really well. It's what I like to work with. This right here was the open today. What I'm trying to show with this is that if this were, so tomorrow when the market opens, I want that first candle, that first 39-minute candle. And quite frankly, if you're working with 5-minute candles, whatever your time, however you're working, if you're a day trader and you're working with 1-minute candles or even something less, that first candle needs to set the tone. And also in the first half hour of the market, it can be extremely volatile. So 39 works well. There's usually a volume spike at the beginning of the trading day and a volume spike at the end. You see that quite often here. All that said, what I'm looking for is tomorrow morning on Oracle, if I'm going to make a decision to buy on this, is that I want this first candle to be an up candle, a clear candle, a white candle, not a red candle. So that's one thing they're looking for. I'm also looking for, I always need the 5-day simple moving average line, which is this blue line moving up. Now, this is an intraday chart. It's a 39-minute chart, so that's not what that is actually. It's a 50-day, excuse me, 50 period line, right? So it shows 50, the average of 50 periods or 50 candles. And that, because there are 10 candles in a day, the way I'm doing this, that 50 translates to a 5-day average on the next level up chart, which is the daily chart. So this line right here is a 20 period chart line. On the daily chart, if I were to draw this line on the daily chart, I would draw it as a 2-day line. And then finally, this dotted line down below is the 200 period moving average. And because there's 10 to a day, that actually becomes the 20-day moving average. So it's nice that I can take moving averages that I typically look at the next higher level or the next higher chart, which is the daily chart, and I can translate it down to the intraday chart, the 39-minute chart. So I want my 5-day moving average moving up. I really like to have the 2-day above the 5, or in this case, the 20 above the 50. And I want all of this action above the 20-day moving average, which on this chart is the 200 period. That's exactly where Oracle is right now, so that's what I want. And then when it opens up tomorrow, we will see if it's a up candle, a clear candle, and then all of these factors are taken into consideration, and the decision to buy is done on the intraday chart. I mentioned in my opening video, my inaugural video, that I look at multiple time frames. I don't have the weekly on this particular setup right here, but I do look at it as part of my decision making to even get on the list, even onto my watch list. And then when it comes time for a buy decision, just check it again. So I'm checking weekly, I'm checking daily, and then I'm checking intraday, and I'm making my buy decision based on the intraday. All right, so that's Oracle. Next up is Chewy. This Let's look at the anchored VWAP. So we know the Lucky 13, they're all strong. There's a little sign here with some turning that maybe she's getting tired from the recent move, that that Chewy's getting tired. But when I look at the candle for today, oops. That's a nice candle. Well, not great. I mean, but but it was a down day. Um, she moved this right here is a very solid candle. Given the fact that it's a long candle and it's all clear. Um, Today's action was actually done on less volume, so it's less meaningful to me. The ones that mean the most here are the ones with the higher volume. These two, and then it moved into this upswing. So this made onto the buy list. I've set the anchors based on the earnings dates. Actually, no, I did not put one on this one. Hold on. Let me move these right now. Hold on 1 second. All right, so Chewy, now the anchors are set on the earnings. Apologize for that. Chewy pretty much has been, the buyers have been in control since this earnings back in May. One brief period, it did go below, and you're seeing this consistently on charts as I show them to you. The market did go through a dip during this period of time in August. This just moved with that dip. That said, it's now above the anchor, and buyers are in charge. Buyers have been in charge since the August report, with a few exceptions here, but they certainly are in charge now. So on the buy list, and as I explained with Oracle, what I'm really going to be looking at is this intraday chart. So here's the intraday. Again, 39-minute candles, the same as what I just explained with Oracle. I'm looking for this. I'm looking tomorrow when this opens to open on a positive candle like this one right here. I'm looking for the 5-day moving average or the 50 period moving line right here to be pointing upwards. The 2-day is above the 5-day, and all of these are above the 20. All of this action is above the Ichimoku cloud. All good things. And this is what I want to see tomorrow. So I'll make that decision to buy will be based on how that first candle turns out after the first, 40 minutes of trading for the day. The last item I want to share that with Chewy is if the decision to buy, the decision to pull the trigger, you always want to have a sense of when you're going to get out of it. So many of the experts, trading experts, will tell you, have your exit as soon as you get into the trade, know where you're leaving, so emotions don't become part of the factor of when you're going to sell or not going to sell, and then you have a tendency to hold on too long because you're just waiting for it to turn around and come back and get your money back if it goes the wrong way on you. But disciplined trading means that you have your stops, you know when you're wrong, and you just walk away from it and move on. And depending on how you set your risk reward, uh, the you know I will accept a 30% gain and cut my losses at 10% all day long. And all that means is I have to be right 34 times out of 100 to make money. That's really good. Now, is it realistic to expect 30% return on everyone? Not necessarily, but you've got to set your losses and keep them minimal. I keep them under 10% for the most part. So when I analyze this chart, I try to go off the candles and say, okay, if it goes below these candles right here, these two, meaning it's closed up here today. If it goes below these candles, I'm probably wrong. It definitely, if it goes below these anchor lines, it's not going your way. It's time to get out. But I set this red line here as just as a guide. It doesn't mean that it's a hard stop at 30, basically, but it's absolutely something I have to analyze the charts and see what they're telling me if this stock should come back down to this line that I drew on here. So when I'm making these decisions to buy based on the chart, I will set that line and I will use that as my guide, basically as my stop loss, and I will use that as a guide to decide when to get out so that the losses do not become too great. All right, next one on the list is On Holdings, ticker on. So, several anchored VWAPs set up here. These are set up off the earnings. You can see the same thing, very much buyers are in control, especially since this earning back in August. And they, on just reported earnings this morning. Now, what's interesting is this candle. Let me zoom in on it. This is a beautiful thing, even considering this is a down day, and it's barely a down day. It finished down 17 bips today, 9 pennies for a $52 stock. Not a big deal. But what happened here is the earnings reported, and this stock went all the way down and touched this VWAP line. And then buyers stepped in. It was driven down. A lot of buyers stepped in and brought it right back up. That's a real strong sign for a stock. And it was done under a lot of volume. So that I like to see that. That is a sign that this is most likely going to go up further. And you can see this. Oh, and before I move to the next chart, I also set my stop line based on this candle right here, right on the bottom. It'll keep, depending on where this opens tomorrow, it should keep me within a 10% loss if it gets to this, if it falls to this line after the purchase, if it falls to this line, um, it'll keep us within the 10% loss that we like to stay in if there's going to be a loss. And and I set that on the chart. And as I mentioned in the other chart with Chewy, it's not a hard stop. It's just I need to evaluate what's going on and strongly consider getting out. Now, if I bring this over to the daily chart to kind of demonstrate what happened today. There it was. They reported before the market and before the market opened, and it was just this long, ugly red candle. But then the buyer stepped in and fought back and got it back up, and it went to a profit on the day at one point, and then it came down and it fought down here, and there was quite a battle going on today. But in the end, the buyers were able to push this thing, and even this last candle is a pretty candle because it has the wick at the bottom right here, right? That's another sign. Even within that 39 minutes, a lot of buyers stepped in and pushed that stock up from the low. So there's all kinds of signs of strength in here, and so it'll be interesting tomorrow. We have the 5-day pointing up. We have the 2-day above the 5-day. We have all this action above the 20-day. And tomorrow, when it opens up, if it opens up on a positive candle, this is a good candidate. All right, the next one that made the list today is the buy list is PayPal. I mentioned PayPal in my video from yesterday, in the inaugural video, the opening video. I used it to talk about some of the technical. I used it for demonstration, and I even mentioned yesterday that this would most likely be on the buy list, and sure enough, it is. So PayPal is on there. But this will probably have a stop added to it. Right at the right, and these candles right here is actually a perfect place for a stop. So that's about 5.75% down from where it closed today. We don't know where it's going to open tomorrow and what we're end up going to buying it at if we end up buying it. But just based on the close today, I'm within my 10% range that I like to be in for setting the stops. And I always try to find a technical location that makes sense, and it does right here. So that's where it's going to be. And in fact, while we're doing this, let's add that. There we go. Okay, so the stop line is there. It's saved. And once again, on the 39-minute chart, we're going to look for 5-day moving average moving up, 2-day above the 5-day, everything's above the 20, and the opening candle has got to be an up candle. Next one that made the list is Roblox. On the VWAP chart, since the earnings of May, buyers in control, earnings in August, one exception right here, but buyers have been in control indefinitely. They just reported earnings back at the end of October 31st, and buyers are in control. So this has been added to the list. This is very strong movement right here. Hopefully it's going to continue with this next wave up. My only concern, and I don't make a decision until I see the price action tomorrow, this candle having a wick at the top, both these wicks, that's almost known as that's pretty close to what's known as a tweezers. That's not always a good sign. it's something to watch out for. So I definitely want to see how the action pans out tomorrow before a decision to buy this, at least right now. Hey, who knows? These tweezers may mean that it's going to go down and we're going to get a better price, you know. So, but I want to see the action on this one. The candlestick formations are just give me a little bit of tap the brakes, but it is on the buy list. I like it. There's good movement here. The only problem is that these two wicks up top just I need to see some follow through to make the decision on this one. But this one does make the list. All right, two more on the list. Vertiv Holdings made it. Buyers have been in control since about mid-September. And then they had earnings reported October 23rd. The action kind of rode along that line for a while, but has since popped. I set the line here for the potential stop loss based on the close of today. We'll see how the action goes tomorrow. That line may have to move a little bit, but just from a technical standpoint, that line's a really strong place to be to have the stop. It represents the top of the action right here before it took a pause, and then when it gapped up, that's the bottom of the gap. So that's a real strong stop line. But we'll see how the action is tomorrow and whether the decision to buy is made or not, and then we'll determine our stops from there. And the final one that made the list today is DraftKings. DraftKings just recently reported earnings. The buyers have been in control since that earnings reporting. Looks like a strong chart. The only concern, similar to Roblox, is this wick right here, the shape of this candle. I definitely need to see what the action is tomorrow, maybe even one more day. I mean, it's on the buy list. I like it, but I feel a lot more confident when I know whether that candle is just a head fake or is it truly meaning sellers. I mean, that candle with the wick like that is basically saying sellers took over for the day and sellers were in charge. And you can see that intraday on the 39-minute. Right from the open. It opened and then it was just pushed down and it tried to get back up and it was pushed down and it tried to get back up and it was pushed down. So that particular day, for whatever reason, this particular day, today's market was not good for it. But one day doesn't make the trend. So I do like it because I like the trend that it's in. I just want to be extra cautious with this one to make sure that that candle is not giving me some other longer term meaning or reason for caution. All right, so basically these are all the ones I just talked about today. These are the stocks that made the buy list for today's date, 11/12. Oracle, Chewy, On Holding, PayPal, Roblox, Vertiv, and DraftKings. These were basically the closing prices, and all those stop losses that I talked about, I just write them down. I mean, in addition to obviously putting on the chart, as you saw, I add them to this. I add the earnings to this because the Oracle and Chewy, as I mentioned when I talked about them, they have earnings coming up. You need to be careful about that. So I put those in yellow as caution that any strategy that we're gonna put in place for those, if we in fact do buy those, it's got to be a short-term strategy, which is usually our thing, and it's got to basically we got to be out of the position ideally by these earning reports. The rest of the ones that I introduced today, their earnings had already happened. They either happened earlier this month, today, earlier this month, or late in October. So it's all good. And then finally, each one of these is a bullish strategies. I haven't introduced any strategies that are bearish strategies. I haven't shown you any stocks that are bearish strategies. I do have a list. I do have a few on the watch list that I'm looking at. But the way we do things, we can make money when these things go up. We can find stocks that are going down, and maybe they're taking a rest on the downtrend. And on the other side of that consolidation or that rest, they're going to go on another leg down, just like what I talked about when they're on the uptrend, right? I'm looking for uptrend, I'm looking for consolidation, and then I'm looking for the next leg up. It can be the same thing with the down. You have a stock that's going down, goes into a little bit of consolidation, it goes into TTM. So it shows up on my research list, or my list that's put out at the end of at the close of the market, and then I watch it for maybe the next leg down. There are strategies with options that you can use to make money when things go down. So I don't always need a market that's going up. In this case, for what I'm talking about today, you can see these are all bullish strategies that we should be implementing with these. All right, that's it for today. If you have any questions or you need to reach out, my email is mark@simplicityIW.com. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your time. Please click subscribe. That helps me in letting you know when new video content is put up. You can set it up for an alert so you know I put up a new video. I'm not doing it every day, but when one goes up, you can get a notification or a notice of that. And then it also helps me gauge the interest in the site as I commit to doing more of these. Once again, thank you. And remember, keeping things simple is really smart. All right, folks, take care.